North Adams is a community in transition, coming off the heels of a hotly contested mayoral election where the long-standing mayor of 26 years has been replaced by his opponent. North Adams is a town of approximately 15,000 people nestled in the northern Berkshires in rural western Massachusetts. The lifeblood of North Adams had been the Sprague electric plant that employed 4,000 people in its heyday. The company closed in the early 1980s, leaving the town in desperate need of a new direction. In 1985, then-Mayor John Barrett had a vision to revitalize the town's economy by bringing the art world to the former mill town in the form of the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. Art was a foreign concept to this small town, but the mayor and his supporters hoped that art could transform both the community and economy. After much political wrangling, MassMocha opened in 1999 and presented the concept of the creative economy. Since that time, many things have changed. The art community has taken hold, but many people wonder if the change will be enough to breathe new life into the area's economy.
My name is Matt Sheehy, and I am the Communications Specialist at Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts in North Adams. That means that I handle public relations and editing of documents and brochures and things like that, and I deal with inquiries from the media. I recently moved to North Adams with my wife Lisa, and we just had a baby boy August 4th named Peter Sheehy. We came to North Adams from Peace Corps, Panama, where we worked out in the countryside in a little village. And before that, I was a newspaper man in the Albany, New York area. I grew up in Kinderhook, New York, Columbia County, not far from here. And my mother's family lived while I was growing up on the North Adams, Williamstown border. So I spent a lot of time here as a child. I can tell you that North Adams is a very different place now than it was when I was a boy.
I moved here 12 years ago now, 13 years ago, to work at MassMocha as Director of Performing Arts. Was originally hired to help design, outfit, and build the performing arts spaces. MassMocha, as you know, is here as an economic stimulus, first and foremost. Art almost was secondary for some years. I don't think it's the case now. But it clearly was and is sort of the poster child for what the arts can do for a specific community. For those of us who have been coming here since the 60s, so I've watched sort of the rise and fall of downtown North Adams, and definitely in the 70s and 80s, it's not being any place you would go to. The stores were closed, the restaurants were closed, you didn't feel safe. Definitely had sort of hit rock bottom. And MassMocha definitely was the catalyst for beginning to turn that around. I think that what we are realizing is that it's not the end all.
Let's see. We came here 21 years ago, and we heard there was going to be this amazing museum called MassMocha.
MassMocha.
The national.
A lot of people started telling us about MassMocha, how it was coming to North Adams, this little town that was pretty down at the heels, but this was going to make all the difference in the world. And we thought, wow, we are lucky to be here right now. Let's get in on that. And it's a very old-fashioned kind of town, a good place to raise kids. And, you know, I had a 5-year-old and I was pregnant, and at the time I thought, oh, perfect, you know, we want to be somewhere to raise kids. And so we settled here, and then Massmoka didn't happen for 15 years. It took forever. And one of the things I was most excited about, a very working class town, pretty poor, you know, compared to like a lot of other areas that I live. But really nice people, really great spirit of the people, just very, you know, working class folks, but more than willing to work hard, very community minded, just nice people. We just like the people. Mm-hmm. And everybody was really supportive of this museum, even though it was like nothing that had ever happened. They were like, this seems like a great idea, and they were all behind it. And that astonished me, you know. I thought it was very open-minded for people that probably, you know, wouldn't normally be even bothered going to a museum, as most people around here just probably wouldn't. And so when it finally happened, it was very exciting. I mean, people showed up, and we were like, wow, this is going to change everything. And the astonishing thing to me was it didn't. But that is what brought us here.
I came just when Massmoka had been introduced to the world. There was a little paragraph in an art magazine that I first saw, and I got involved with the museum project behind the scenes. In those days, North Adams was very, very depressed. Main Street was 70% vacant. The population had dropped from 22,000 down to 13,000. This was a poor town. And when Massmoka was introduced, all of a sudden, North Adams was known all over the world, better in Germany and Italy than probably in Vermont or New York and neighboring states.
Back in the early 80s, I believe, was when Sprague's Electric decided to move out of the area. It became a very a time when a lot of people were not able to have jobs. Besides, a lot of them moved from the area, of course.
There are some really sad places to be in this town, and a lot of rundown, depressed neighborhoods, and a real lack of, I think, the kind of industrial jobs that used to exist here. Obviously, when we had Sprague Electric, that was hundreds, thousands of well-paying manufacturing positions. They're not going to come back, and that's the hard, cold reality of it.
Where they did it was formerly Sprague Electric, where everybody used to have a job. When Sprague decided to move its operations out of the country, my understanding is that when Sprague came in many, many years ago, this is long before we were here, and when we moved here, they had just, you know, bailed on the city. And my understanding is that they had negotiated that no other businesses would come into town. This was their town because they wanted all the employees to be right there. You know, that would work for them. So nothing else really sprung up except little restaurants and businesses. But there were no other competing businesses to take their employees away. Just local people working right there in town. And that was great until they left. And so the town was high and dry. They had nothing. I mean, everybody worked for Sprague. And, it might have been 3 generations of one family. So when they left, people were hurt and bad. So in those intervening 15 years, people struggled to create businesses, whatever. Not a whole lot going on. Not a lot was working. And I credit the mayor for deciding to go with Massmoka. I mean, he could have gone with, a garbage processing plant or a prison, but he saw this and thought it was a great opportunity.
No, the city didn't understand art. It understood Massmoka as an economic revitalization project that was perhaps going to get a lot of money and attention. And they were so desperate they needed something. So that's how things began. I like to work with raw materials and make something out of it into a sculpture. To me,